Pop quiz. What is the most common house that Americans live in? Well, if you clicked on this video, you already know the answer. It is a ranch style house. But how many Americans live in a ranch style house? Is it 25%? Is it 50%? Is it 60%? Is it 75%? Do you want to know the answer? It's 60%. Let's go. I've had too much coffee today. What is going on? My name is Bobby K. I'm a professional landscape designer and general contractor. If you're new to the channel, welcome. This channel is all about landscape design and helping you save time and money when it comes to beautifying your space. So, we're gonna talk about some ranch houses. Yes, that's kind of a given, but if you don't have a ranch house, the landscape design techniques that I'm gonna show you are universal. They're gonna help you enhance your space. Second thing is, I'm gonna tell you how much each of these projects is if you're gonna do it yourself or if you're gonna hire a professional to do it. Best of all, I'm gonna tell you a couple of mistakes and show you a couple techniques on how you can make sure you don't jump into ways to muck it up. It's a bad way of saying it, but I want to make sure that you don't overdo it because there's a thin line that can be crossed and all of a sudden things start to look a little off. So let's get into that first design, have some fun. So the first one is out of, you guessed it, St. Louis, Missouri. We do a lot of Midwest designing here. I'm from St. Louis, hence, go Cardinals, they lost yesterday. The White Sox, damn it. But you know what? We enjoy St. Louis and it's pretty universal as far as the landscaping. Whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, these principles, they're gonna work. So let's start talking about it. What's going on here is you got a ranch style house that has a lot of, I would say, homeowner got excited and went to Home Depot, Lowe's, nurseries, and grabbed up a couple of things over time and has started to plop them in, and it's just a little unbalanced, it's a little off because it wasn't started with the design in the first place. Anytime you take on a project, start with the design, map it out before a shovel hits the ground, and that way you're not gonna burn up cash by going to those places and then retracking and be like, ah shoot, that doesn't fit, what do I even do with these? So what we've got is a little bit of grade going on. I wanted to put a retaining wall in first to address the grade and make sure that we're capturing water and then we can direct it away from the house. The foundation, the earth was going towards it and we want to balance that out. So by creating this elevated planter in the back, it's going to catch some water, it's going to go out the side, and it also adds a design element. So the retaining wall is the first thing. The second thing is I really enjoy adding layering to my designs, which is simply a fancy way of saying you're gonna have multiple points of interest, multiple plants, perennials, annuals, shrubs, whatever, in different layers, staggered. Usually the highest thing, the tallest thing is gonna be in the back to the lowest thing in the front, but it's a way to add texture and color and variety and all that. So I wanted to get a backdrop going on. So we started with some Weigela vine and rose bushes and then some green velvet boxwoods. Weigela are gonna go dormant, but the green velvet are gonna look year round, good year round. So when it becomes winter, you got this nice clean palette that's still there and it doesn't look like just a house again. So that's the second thing. After that, let's get a little height in. We got an arborvitae, we have a dwarf lilac tree, and those are kind of a focal point. And then we have a Japanese maple over by the driveway. Finally, we want to soften this place up and get some color in there. We've got some yellow spirea, we've got some Hamlin fountain grasses. They don't get too terribly big, but they add that kind of wispy, flowy texture. And then we have almost a red salvia. A lot of the times you'll see salvia as a purple or like Russian sage, and that is a cool way to get lots of color in the spring up into the fall. But this one I thought added a little bit of interest and I went red because of the red of the roof and the brick. So I'm pulling from the architecture as well. A big miss, here's one of the misses, is getting all this color in, but then not paying attention to the architecture of the house. I think by going with a little bit more of those reds and those earth tone colors in the plantings and in the mulch, you're gonna soften this place versus say going black mulch and purple all over the place, which I think kind of clashes with that red. So that is this bad boy. At the end, you light up your investment, you're good to go. All in, if you're gonna hire somebody, because of the hardscaping, it's probably around 10 grand for this with the lighting. If you're gonna do it yourself, I think you can cut that in half, 4 to 5 grand. Let's go to the next one. rock and roll. You are gonna like this one. And by the way, if you like the last one, make sure you hit the like button. That is all I ask when I make these videos. And if you do wanna come back next week, consider subscribing. We're going to Nashville, Tennessee on this one. I love this one. It's a cute little house. It obviously has been updated and it looks like more or less it's just a little bit of front porch work and painting the brick of the house to modernize it. And then of course we have all of these new hardscape areas. We've got a sidewalk going down to the front door, which I think is great. Bam, here you go. And then we've got some additional parking and then even a sidewalk that goes down the side to the back gate. What you want to do in this situation is soften that hardscaping. That's a lot of hardscaping going on and we want to make sure that this place is very beautiful. So we're going to start with the landscaping with the beds. The beds are key here. We're going to frame and bring those beds out away from the house and then frame along the sidewalk and the driveway. And then I want to bring it all the way around and I even want to bring it up the property on the other side where the neighbor is. I want to create some definition there versus having lawn all the way over. By separating these two properties, it's very obvious everything is contained. This is the house, this is the property, and I think it adds just a design element that looks great. Next thing we want to do is get some winter interest in there and seasonal interest, like all year interest. Let's throw some boxwoods along the backdrop, give it a nice green backdrop, and then we can start to play fun, have fun playing with color, however I wanted to say that. We're gonna get some trees in there. We got our evergreens in. Now we got some flowering cherries. We got a dwarf lilac. And then in between, framing up that privacy bed between the neighbors, we've got some arborvitaes and a pink magnolia bush to break it up versus just doing arborvitaes the whole way. I think that's a cool little design technique. Finally, we want to frame everything out. Let's run the boxwoods throughout the entire all the landscaping, all the beds, so it has this balanced effect. It's gonna go down all the walkways, but be broken up. And then in between that, we're gonna put some red twig dogwoods. When everything goes dormant, those red twig dogwoods are actually gonna look good as well. They're gonna have a red stem. So you got white snow on the ground, you got the red stem, that's gonna look cool with the green. I also added in some azaleas. The azaleas are right behind the parking because there's some grade going on there. Azaleas are gonna get bigger, so as you pull in with your car, all of a sudden, that is gonna fill the space and be a nice backdrop versus everything looking just like concrete and then down and away. I thought that that was an element that adds a lot of interest. Here's your mistake. If you're gonna plant azaleas, you're gonna plant something that gets bigger, make sure you don't drop them right in front of a window. They might look good for a couple seasons, but all of a sudden they're gonna get big. Pay attention to the maturity, the overall size of plants. That is huge. If you have ever planted something and put it in front of a window and it looked good for a season or two and then had that effect, what do? You gotta take it out. You just burned up cash and you got some frustration going on. Don't wanna do that. If you're gonna do this yourself, all in, the mulch, the plants, the trees, everything, you're gonna be around $3,500. That's pretty darn close to what this is gonna cost. The trees are gonna cost a little bit of money. Bushes aren't as much, $30 to $40 a piece, but we got some trees and some bigger bushes, the magnolia in there. If you're gonna pay somebody to do it, I'd say this is about a $7,500 job. You wanna light up your investment, you could add on another $1,000. Let's go to the final one. All right, the final one, we're gonna go back to St. Louis, but this house could be anywhere in the world, literally. Now, here's the thing. I'm gonna point out a couple more mistakes on this one versus giving you a bunch of design techniques. Let's start out with what's going on here. You've got a pretty bare bones home, and what I want you to lock on are the boxwoods. What you can tell is they're off. They're not strategically placed, like purposely placed. They're too close together, or they're not staggered or not separated. They're not on every other side of these columns. And I felt like they don't need to go. That's a way to repurpose and save some money. They just need to be transplanted into the proper place. So the first thing I wanted to do was reuse those boxwoods, but properly plant them and give them enough spacing and have them have a a balanced look. That's all I wanted to say, a balanced look. So the first thing is when you are planting, make sure you are measuring in between on center of whatever it is you are planting so that things don't look in and out or off balance or kind of goofy. That's the first thing. Second thing is, I think we try to overcomplicate things way too much when we are doing landscape design, including myself. I did this all the time when I was first starting out, and occasionally I still do. I wanted to go very simple here. I think this home is very classic and neat and tidy. I know they did some painting and some updating of the roof, painting of the columns, and I just wanted to soften it. So going with like almost all greens, like a green effect, I thought worked well. I got some Hamlin grasses here, some pyramid boxwoods down the side. That is it. We didn't need to drop a bunch of color in. The only pop of color is a flowering cherry. Here's the other mistake. There was a retaining wall there on that hook on that corner. Everybody thinks when you have grade that you gotta throw a retaining wall in. You don't. I think retaining walls obviously serve a purpose. They are retaining earth, but I would much rather have a softened landscape front yard without the retaining walls. And there was enough space on the side of this yard that it could be graded down properly, take out those hodgepodge little blocks that are outdated, don't look good, don't need to be there, and then call it a day. So the two mistakes are making sure that you plant on center, or two techniques. Plant on center, the mistake is if you don't. Second thing is, watch out if you need a retaining wall or not. And if you don't, by the way, you just saved a bunch of money doing that. If you want to learn more ways to save more money, go check out this video right here. I got tons of cool stuff in there from all different parts of the country. This is Bobby K saying creation is everything, so go out and create. I'll see you on the next video.